The Pat McGann Show is presented to you by Tiege Hanley, uncomplicated skincare for men.
Hi, I'm Ben Shabad. I'm on the Pat McGann Show. This is episode 19.
Great job. That was so smooth. I was a little nervous. Mental health therapist, being able to get the showbiz down. That was smooth. No, hey, guys, Happy New Year. Welcome in. We're live from the Tiege Hanley Studios in the West Loop of Chicago, Illinois. Very happy to be back. I hope everyone enjoyed a little break. That did feel like a natural break for all of us. Good to see a lot of familiar faces today. And nice to be joined by Ben Shabad, my guest today.
Thanks a lot for having me, Pat.
Hey, thanks for being here. Yeah. You're a busy man. And I know you introduced us as a mental health therapist.
Yes.
That's how you kind of dumbed it down for me. Like, yeah. I'm like, how do I bring you in? What do I say?
Yeah, my actual degree, I'm a licensed certified professional counselor. That's my title.
And do you have the license on you? Can you show us? Do you carry that?
You're just going to have to trust me for this one.
Okay. Yeah, I could just make that up too.
Yeah. Throw a bunch of letters in there. And
that's a lot of schooling then.
LCPC. Yeah, it's a few years, but what's crazy is how long I've been doing this now for. And
you sound bored.
No. Honestly, it's the opposite. I feel like the job gets more exciting the longer you do it for.
Well, there's more people that need help every day, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, that's true for sure. There are a lot of people that need help. And but, just over time, you become, just like a comedian, I'm sure, you become more experienced, more well-versed, and you're able to tweak things better. And I think when you're coming out of school in your first couple of years of the job, you're more doing things by the book, and it takes a little bit of time to develop your own style. And
it's got to be hard to build trust too. Who wants some rookie therapist?
Yeah.
What do you know?
100%. Trust is actually the foundation for any effective therapy relationship. And so, you're always trying to establish trust and rapport right off the bat. If you don't have that, it almost doesn't even matter how knowledgeable you are about the subject area.
I think it's maybe something that's been more on my radar the last several years. I think maybe people are more thinking in this way because of maybe some of the shared experiences, COVID, the pandemic, things that have been just, personally going through a divorce. And you think that maybe social media, all these existential things that are coming up, climate and AI, and business has got to be good for you, bud.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think one thing that's happening now that is more of a recent trend is people are talking more openly about going to therapy, and it's becoming just more of a common way of life. And whereas everybody sees a doctor and people haven't been ashamed about having a doctor's appointment, in the past people would try to hide if they were seeing a therapist, and that has changed a lot, and I think that's a really positive thing for society. And so not only are people not shying away for it or parking in the back and trying to come through the back door kind of thing, but you hear conversations very openly like, I can't wait for my therapy session this week, and I got to talk about this, or I have a great therapist. Those are things you probably wouldn't have heard 10, 15, 20 years ago.
People look at their therapist in the eye now too, right? Is that how you operate? Do you do face-to-face, or are people still laying down, staring at the ceiling? Is that really a thing?
No couch. That is a thing. That's some forms of psychoanalysis where people are lying down, the therapist is behind them, and it's free association, just say whatever's on your mind. No, that's not really what I do, but that is a thing, yeah.
You never have to say, maybe you should lie down, open up a little bit?
No. Sometimes I tell people to lie down just as, recommendation for relaxing, but not in my office, not during the session.
So I think that having you on right now is great timing. A lot of people are, I was actually looking too at the new year trends for 2026, mental health care, self-help, which we kind of dabble in here at Tiege Hanley with the lotion. Just having some skincare treatment is good for yourself. Absolutely. But I want to talk about people that are looking and thinking in this way as we start a new year, what are some things that people can concentrate on to maybe feel less, less heavy?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really hard to make a general statement about that because everybody's situation is different. You can always look to exercise, which for most people is going to be really good, making sure you're sleeping enough, sleeping well, eating healthfully, socializing. That's kind of across the board. Those are going to be healthy things. Now, what each person needs individually is going to look different. I love that you are a comedian because I feel like comedy and laughter is one of the best, if not the best form of therapy a person could have.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you saying it. It actually makes me very anxious. You think it's easy trying to make people laugh all the time? Trying to be the funny guy coming up with stuff?
I actually can't understand how you do it. I'm so impressed. I personally love comedy.
I'm just avoiding everything else, Ben. This is all, can't you tell?
Well, they do. Yeah. There's a lot of assumptions I think people have about comedians and how they got into the business. And I am curious about that for you.
Well, then you should have a podcast, Ben. You should have your own show and have me on.
All right. I'll leave the questions to you. But I'll just say I'm a big fan of comedy. I'm a big fan of you. I think you are, there are a lot of comedians out there. And even a bad comedian, I enjoy seeing because I know they're trying to make me laugh, and I take pleasure in that. But when you can be a good comedian and you're rolling and you really have the crowd going, and which is something that you do, you're in that category. It's therapeutic for me, and I know laughter is therapeutic for everybody. So
yeah,
kudos to you. It's very cool.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that, and I do. I hear that, and I do think that comedy is a great escape, and I don't know that I necessarily fit into the. Because there's a stigma, or not maybe stigma, but there's a perception that a lot of comics are damaged and have a lot of issues or baggage, and that they are. And I'm just kind of playing around. That's not really why I got into it. But I do think that comedy has been lifted up by the times as well, because people do turn to it as an escape. And maybe there's a lot of truth in comedy.
100%.
Where you don't really maybe feel that in other, ways of whatever we're consuming may seem artificial or fake.
Yep. Well, no, truth is that's why I'll speak for myself. That's one of the main reasons I love comedy, because of the truth. And I feel like therapists and comedians are, a lot of the time we're asking the same question, or we're saying the same thing, which is, what happens when I tell the truth and I don't apologize for it? And that comes out in therapy sessions when we're talking about our experiences and our feelings and emotions that we're harboring and feelings towards other people, right? This is how I feel, and I don't need to feel sorry about that. And the same thing is true, I feel like, when I'm watching a comedian, especially when you're talking about some hot button topics, where you're right. These days with the news and social media, everything very much in your face, it's hard to laugh about things and to get that perspective. And sometimes you just feel like you're going crazy, or the whole world is going crazy. And then you hear a comedian talk about the exact same thing you just heard on the news, which was freaking you out, and all of a sudden you're laughing about it. And there's just something magical about that.
So is this something that you talk to people about? Like, hey, do you encourage people to check out comedy or to get into these? What are some other ways you help people kind of shrink things that are maybe weighing on them?
Yeah, I put Pat McGann on my resource list. Yeah, I do. I try to incorporate, I'm not nearly as funny as you are, but I try to incorporate humor into sessions whenever I can. And if we can laugh about something, it's not at all to diminish what somebody is going through, because we're talking about very sensitive things. But if you can get somebody to crack a smile or get a laugh, even for a second, it reduces the tension. It changes the whole emotional dynamic of the conversation. And honestly, sometimes clients and I are just sitting there and we're talking about like how absurd the things that are happening to them are. We're just sitting back like, of course, X, Y, and Z happened today, right? And you just have to laugh at the absurdity and the randomness of so many things that.
And then you bill them?
And then I don't. Yeah, I do end up billing them.
No, you got to. I mean,
Yeah.
but for someone listening that
Yeah.
is thinking about, hey, you know what? Maybe I do want to talk to somebody, or maybe I do feel like, this is something I should focus on.
Mm-hmm.
How does this journey start for people?
You mean from like before they've entered therapy? Or,
Before they're into therapy, or when they're just working on, mental health? Maybe there are some DIY. What's the at home? Like, what can people be doing? I know I hear a lot about decluttering.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, and I've actually spoken about this on a couple news segments. A lot of people are turning to AI for therapy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it creates some problems. It has some benefits, no doubt, if you're looking for...
Especially if you're dating that person or that robot.
Yeah, that's a whole nother realm. But
Have you seen that? Have people
yeah.
come to you
not no.
and say,
Have
like,
seen
I
that
think I'm in love with a artificial intelligence? Like,
No, nothing like that. But people are turning to AI all the time, and for therapy-related questions, for sure. They're looking for quick fixes. They're looking for some suggestions, and some of the stuff that comes out of there is useful. But there have been a lot of cases where it has led people astray, and you're not talking to a human. You got to remember that you're talking to a robot, so it's going to affirm a lot of what you're saying, and if you're talking about doing things that are harmful to yourself, crisis
I've seen that.
situations.
They
Yeah,
will
there have been
kinda,
some
like,
stories about that.
plug you along, like kind of
Right.
push you in that direction.
Yes, exactly. So it can't really distinguish between positive affirmation and building someone's self-esteem versus you should do this and it's gonna hurt you. So those are the things that it trips up AI a little bit. But so anyway, going back to your question. So what are some things that people could do? If you're looking for just some quick tips, you can use AI. But talking to someone is really effective, and it doesn't have to be a therapist. Good conversations with trusted family members, friends, colleagues. Those can be therapeutic, even though they're not officially therapy. And so, again, it just depends on the person's situation.
Do you see people craving social interaction, or do you see people more, I mean, you probably see both, but pulling away from, and maybe some of us are too tangled up with other people and don't realize that we're being held back by them, or how do you help someone declutter people out of their lives?
Oh man, yeah, you touched on a lot of things right there. So, are we too enmeshed or entangled with other people, or not enough? Part of that comes down to your personality type, and if you're an introvert or an extrovert. And then you also touched on what types of relationships are those? Are people building you up and making you feel better and improving the quality of your life, or are they dragging you down, holding you back? So those are things that people definitely need to think about. But I would say if I was going to make a general statement about that, I don't think people are social enough. And I think we're losing that part of society. And I think that's a dangerous thing because people, I mean, it's kind of obvious even without looking at the data, people are just starting to live in their own bubbles on their phone, interacting with people virtually. Again, not always a bad thing when done in moderation, but if that is your whole world, or 80% of your world, or 90% of your world, and I just feel like we're moving in a direction where people are less comfortable going out and talking to people face to face and having authentic, normal conversations with people that throughout the vast majority of human history is how we've interacted with each other.
We're social animals.
We're social animals. And so it's just changing very quickly, and I think it could have some negative ramifications.
Do you think that people realize that this is happening? Is there a problem with self-awareness? Is that something that, people need to maybe, how do you check yourself? How do you kind of like take stock on where you at? Here we are, 2026, new year.
Yeah.
The year of the horse.
Well, you're right. It starts with self-awareness. You have to recognize there's an issue, and I don't think many people would argue with that. I think we all know the situation. We might not know how many hours am I staring at my phone every day, but all it takes, man. And I've done this experiment personally. if you just walk down the street and you put your phone away, you say, I'm not going to take it out for the next 45 minutes, and I'm just going to walk around. Look at how many people are walking around like zombies, just staring at their phones. I mean, it's nuts. Whereas before the phone, which I feel really fortunate to have grown up in an era before the cell phone, you're walking around, you're looking at other people, you're interacting with other people.
I had this conversation with my kids all the time. It's like, you gotta get up. Oh, you're on your phone. I'm like, hey, I didn't get my brain was developed.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have a screen when I was in fifth grade.
Yep.
You know, and I think that is creating a lot. And I know you talk a lot about anxiety, and anxiety seems to be maybe at an all-time high, or maybe we're just more aware and talking about it.
It's always hard to know, is it being diagnosed more, or is it actually occurring more? I do feel like it's occurring more. I feel like the environment that we're living in now is very anxiety inducing.
What are some signs that you are suffering from anxiety?
You know, it can look different in different people, but if you're having racing thoughts, if you're perseverating about something, you know, you can't.
Hang on, what is that? Can you look that up there, Tom? What was that? What was the word?
Perseverating, ruminating. You find that you're just stuck.
Ruminating, marinating.
Yeah, it's all the same type of thing. But you know, if you're
stuck.
If you're feeling stuck, you know, look, here's the other thing to keep in mind. Everybody has some degree of anxiety, and some anxiety is healthy. Anxiety is like some gasoline. You know, it's a force that gets you to do something. If I wasn't anxious about whatever, losing my job, I might not be motivated enough to take action, so I didn't, you know, or things like that. And so anxiety pushes us to do things. The problem is a lot of people have too much anxiety. And so it's not pushing them in the right direction. Instead, it's interfering with their ability to do what they need to do because they're so anxious. So you know what the feeling is when you're feeling nervous, if you're walking around feeling uneasy, your heart's racing, your thoughts are racing, small things are really tripping you up all the time. You know, those are some signs of anxiety.
Is there any kind of old school approach that you prescribe to? Because I may be kind of, you talk about growing up without a phone.
Yeah.
I kind of grew up without any of this, like in our face about,
yeah.
It was kind of like chin up, people got to worsen you, deal with it, bury it, move on. Is any degree of that effective or healthy?
Yeah, like most things, I think there's a balance for sure. One good thing about the day and age we're living in is people are very attuned to other people's emotions. That's a normal topic of conversation now, and it hasn't always been. So that's really good.
So that would be empathy, where sometimes you hear that that's a lost thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big topic for sure. But yeah, just knowing that like your emotions, the way you feel inside that's a thing, and that's important, and it needs to be addressed, especially if you're struggling. So that is a topic of conversation, definitely more than it has been. But are we so shielded and protected sometimes that the interactions that we used to have in our day when we were growing up, some of them are really positive and those stand out, and some of them are really negative and those stand out, and they all shape us. You know, I mean, they were just happening all the time, and they build you and they turn you into who you are. And now, because I think a lot of those, it's becoming so much more limited when you're having face-to-face interactions with people, awkward interactions with people, scary interactions with people, uplifting interactions with people, all of the things that make you who you are. We have less of those, and those, they don't just build character, but they define you, and they give you a sense and an understanding of who you are. And what does it look like when that's lost, when your sense of who you are becomes the videos that are showing up on your screen, and you're not getting a wide variety of exposure to different personalities, different news sources, different information, different everything, because they want you to keep staring at your phone. This isn't a secret, right? They want you to, and so people. And
they got it down. The algorithms are dialed in.
Totally, because we're wired for consistency and predictability. That's what we like, and they know if they just keep feeding us the same types of information, the same videos, doesn't mean it's the truth. It just means you're going to stare at your phone longer, and that's what's good. And so I worry about that.
What do you think about, or what is something that people can do? Because the phone it's kind of undeniable. Like, it is just a factor.
Yeah.
Are there things you can do on your phone, with your phone, that can help?
Yeah, I mean, I think just putting your phone away is helpful. You know, they've done studies. If you just have your phone in your pocket, you're more distracted. Even if you're not using it, just
you get
walking
the
around
phantom
knowing it's
stuff
there.
going on.
Yes, I mean, your brain is always, there's part of your mind that knows it's there, that knows there's things happening there on the phone in your pocket. So
supposed to keep it out of the bedroom.
Keep it out of the bedroom.
Do you have your phone in your room? Do you sleep near your phone?
I do, and the reason is because
Are you talking to someone about this? Do you talk to yourself?
Hey, I'm definitely not claiming to be perfect, and I'm working on this myself. It's a real challenge because you're battling a device that.
This used to be something I would say to people in therapy, like, "Oh yeah, guess what? Your therapist has a therapist, so shouldn't you be talking to that therapist?"
Yeah, many therapists do have therapists.
Is it true that therapists have to go to therapy?
No,
somebody told me that.
No,
That's not true.
I don't think that's a rule, but I think because therapists believe in the process and obviously in the work and know how beneficial it is, they oftentimes are in therapy themselves. And as a therapist, you're carrying a lot of emotional burden from your clients, you know, and sometimes when you're working through other people's problems all the time, you can push your own stuff to the side.
Yeah.
And that can be detrimental. And so it is helpful to have a therapist.
The Pat McGann Show is presented to you by Tiege Hanley, uncomplicated skincare for men. Are you seriously washing your face with a 3-in-1 body wash? You still use a flip phone too? You working on a new MySpace post? No wonder your face looks like a rotten jack-o'-lantern. Meet Tiege Hanley. It's got everything you need to be attractive. Science-backed, foolproof. No 12-step nonsense. You wash, you exfoliate, you moisturize. We got 24,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars and over 3 million boxes sold. These guys are as legit as it gets. It's time to fix your face, okay? Go get a box of Tiege Hanley at Tiege.com/Pat to get 40% off your first order and a free gift. That's Tiege.com/Pat. Tiege Hanley. It's the way we face the day. When you have, and then there are kids too that are dealing with a lot of this stuff. I actually had a conversation with my kids last night. I showed them a couple of your videos.
Oh, cool.
And said, I'm talking to this guy, Ben, tomorrow on the podcast. I asked them if they had any questions for you.
Nice. What did
questions
they say?
from my kid. Well, my one son wanted to know what's the best way to make $1 million? And then I was like, come on. He's like, well, is he a millionaire? I'm like, you don't ask that. I'm just kidding.
It's not therapy. So don't follow in my footsteps if you're looking for big money.
My other son wanted to know what's your IQ.
Very high, very high. Like, tell him it's off the chain.
And my daughter, her question was, do you ever get anxiety?
Yeah, I do. I don't have clinical anxiety, but I do struggle with anxiety at times. I would say probably even more than a lot of other people, maybe more than most people. I'd say above average, but not in the clinically significant range, we might say. A lot of the advice that I give to people who are struggling with anxiety come from my own experiences and things that I've tried and have worked with me. Because, man, anxiety will rob you of your presence. And that is a terrible feeling.
Clip that. That's a great quote right there. Love that. It will. It does. It kind of takes over. It's all consuming. I think that sometimes, I was talking with my son last night, and he was saying, I don't think I get anxiety. And I reminded him about how he feels when he gets on a plane flying. And I had this when I was a kid. Yeah. I think I overcame it just because of the frequency that I'm getting on an airplane. But to someone listening that has a fear of heights or flying, or how do you help people manage these things?
Man, that's loaded.
All my questions are
No,
loaded.
they're fantastic. They really
And I
force
will
me to
also
dive
mention
deep.
this: my son, who does have this anxiety with flying, my approach, because I take it seriously.
Yeah.
We were in New York City, and we went to the 9/11 museum
Yeah.
before we flew home.
Oh, yeah.
And that was probably, looking back,
That's a little trigger.
not the best move.
Yeah.
Probably
why
added to his.
why does he get anxiety about it? Like, is there
I think he has a
specific
wild
thing?
imagination.
Okay, so like he
And
gets scared of the plane crashing.
Yes, and I think he probably fears the worst or
Mm-hmm.
thinks something can happen. I mean, I can remember being a kid. I grew up in the 80s during the hijacking phase of, that was kind of a trend.
Yeah.
And you'd be casing everybody at the gate.
Yep.
Like, oh, is this guy going to, stand up in the middle of the, take over the plane? And
How old's your kid?
he is in
The one we're
5th
talking
grade.
about. 5th grade, okay. So, I mean, one thing you could do is just first off reassure him about all the safety precautions that are taken. Everybody has to go through these metal detectors.
I tell him, hey,
can't
your
bring
seat
weapons
is
on
a
the plane.
flotation device. I tell him all
Yeah.
these things.
You can't even get into the cockpit without a code, and there's only 2 people on the plane that have the code.
Oh, yeah.
You could tell him. I don't know if this is true. It's probably not, but you could tell him that there's an air marshal on every flight.
Yeah,
so
lie to him. Yeah, that's good.
So sometimes lying can be effective if you're doing it for the right reason, not immoral. And
We're getting some solid advice.
I would say if it were an adult, because self-awareness is so key when you're talking about dealing with some of these issues. For a 5th grader, the approach is a little different.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about an adult, you're always you want to focus on a focal point, why you're on the plane, where you're headed to, and why that's going to be so awesome. And so anything that happens on the plane, good or bad, turbulence, whatever the case is, that's just a step toward getting you to where you want to go and how awesome it's going to be. And so you're constantly just focusing. The beeps go off in the plane, the engines are sounding, the plane starts getting rattled. You're thinking about, oh, that happened so I can get to the beach in Florida, so, wherever you're going,
Right.
so I can see grandma.
Yes.
And you just keep reframing it as moving towards a positive place, because that not only takes you out of that anxiety cycle, but it also turns every bad thing into a positive thing.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that, shrinking these things, looking past it,
Yeah.
and they're surrounded by this. My daughter made the comment about, and my son was agreeing too, that so many people say they have anxiety and maybe they don't. Or ADHD, maybe, everyone in our school, they say they have it. Like, I don't think they do as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
I think kids pick up on some of this, that it's some overdiagnosed.
Yeah.
Kind of, is that a trend, or is that a?
Things are overdiagnosed, and and not everything is overdiagnosed. And I would never say that somebody doesn't have anxiety if they're saying they have anxiety. The question that a clinician is looking at, though, is not, do you have anxiety, or do you have difficulty concentrating, or are you hyperactive, or any of the symptoms? It's to what degree. Right? How is it impacting your life? That's what matters. Again, we all have some anxiety. So if you told me you're anxious, I'm not going to say, no, you're still here on the podcast or doing your thing. You don't have anxiety. It's if you're talking about, I have clinical anxiety. Hey, I can't get out of bed and make it to work. I'm so anxious. That's a different type of conversation. And there's no blood test for these type of things, right?
Yeah.
This isn't like, do I have cancer? It's just reported. It's self-report basically for kids. Other people are reporting it too, teachers and parents and that type of thing. But for an adult, it's you're filling out some rating scales, you're reporting your symptoms, and then we're just seeing if it aligns with the cluster of symptoms that would qualify you for anxiety or depression or something of that nature, ADHD. And so yeah, things do, there is like separately, like, do people get diagnosed more for like things like ADHD? There's money there, there's accommodations there at school.
What do you think about this? Because you're touching on something that
Yeah.
I kind of see sometimes.
Yeah.
You're talking about the truth or being maybe calling out. There is a monetization of this going on. It is trendy to maybe talk about these things and have, the self-help aisle at a bookstore, or, when you go online. That's a big moneymaker.
Yeah.
What do you think about?
There's definitely money behind diagnoses. The big pharma is there, right? And so if you get diagnosed with ADHD or anxiety or depression, you might be taking some medication, and somebody's making some money on that. It doesn't mean it's always bad or it's always wrong. It's not. Could things be overprescribed? Of course. I don't know what what the research is on that. I wouldn't doubt it, though, that it's not always necessary for people to take medication that they're prescribed, but everybody's situation is different.
Should the goal be to be, just work past that, get off that, is it something you can solve or you have to manage it? Like, have you ever gotten to a point where hey, you're good, man. You don't need to come in here anymore.
Ideally, I would say, if the less intervention you can do without, the better, right? Because that means you're functioning more independently, less reliance on outside things. And so, I would never recommend being on a medication that you don't need, but sometimes it's totally necessary. And so, you just got to know what your own situation is. Sometimes people just decrease the dosage, and you obviously do this all in coordination with your doctor, your psychiatrist, etc. Generally speaking, though, I'm just talking for myself. My approach, I'm so much less concerned, almost to the point that I really don't even care what the official diagnosis is. I'm not in the business of that. I don't feel like that's really what helps the client. Hey, you have bipolar. Hey, you have this. It helps them understand their cluster of symptoms, right? So, but everybody with these diagnoses function differently anyway, I just care about the person in front of me, what they're going through, and how we can help manage them. So I'm just not in the business of just throwing out diagnoses, just because I feel like the
trying to build up your
impact is limited.
Client base and
exactly. I don't care if you officially have anxiety or any symptom or any diagnosis. It doesn't matter to me. If you need a therapist, you need a therapist. It doesn't mean you meet the criteria for some clinical diagnosis.
What is something that you can give us that we can grab onto with some kind of hope and some kind of because the doom stuff is almost all consuming. It seems to be all bad news sometimes, or all this is, just the way it is from now on. It's going to be a chaotic, hectic world, and there's more coming. Climate, AI, buckle up.
Yeah.
There's got to be some silver linings out here too, and some good things.
Yeah. No, there definitely are. And it's easy to start thinking negatively and get pessimistic. But, where we are as humans in this day and age, we're, I don't want to make any claims. I don't even know if I could back them up. But I feel like, generally speaking, we're a lot safer than we have been in years past. I feel like there's an openness and a willingness for people to help themselves. That from a mental health standpoint, that wasn't always there.
And is that where people need to start within and then work your way out?
Yeah. You mean for self-help?
Yeah.
Totally. Again, self-awareness is the starting point. You have to know, and sometimes that's why people go to therapy. That's how they end up in my office, because they're saying these are the patterns in my life. I don't know why I keep ending up in these relationships. I don't know why I keep losing my job. I don't know why I keep getting into these types of fights.
And how do you tell them, hey, you're an asshole? That's well, didn't you know that?
Sometimes it is the way that they're sometimes it's the people that you surround yourself with. Sometimes it's replaying old scenarios from the past, re-experiencing them. Sometimes you find that people will land themselves in situations over and over again like they don't learn.
That's what it is, right? Isn't that, and maybe this is just kind of what I've picked up on being floating around the planet for a while, is the patterns and the cycles that you don't really realize.
Yeah. Well, maybe on some subconscious level, you want to master an experience that traumatized you. When you were growing up. And so the best way to do that is to continue to find yourself in those situations, and then you can finally defeat the demons, so to speak, But unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's not how it works. And they just keep reliving these same things. And it causes them a lot of problems, There's also, on the flip side, we're drawn to familiarity. And we talked a little bit about that earlier with the iPhone, or just technology in general. You might have had an abusive parent growing up, dealt with some trauma growing up, and you'd think you would know, this isn't good for me. I should find something else. But unfortunately, we're so drawn to what's familiar to us that an abusive partner, it's almost inevitable that we end up, it's not inevitable, but it can feel like, man, I keep landing with these why am I so drawn to these type of people? Well, they remind you of when you were growing
Other people in your life.
Other people. These were like your parents, for example. If you have abusive parents, you grow up, and that's what was shown as love to you when you were a kid. That's how you interpret being taken care of and being loved.
Yeah, that's deep, dude. Mm-hmm. And that is, I just kind of think about like how we got to this point, because I grew up with my grandfather being a World War II vet, and can't imagine what he saw.
Yeah.
I remember him whistling.
Yeah.
You know, you don't really see people whistling as much as they used to.
Oh, yeah. Self-entertainment.
Maybe they were coping.
Yeah.
You know, which is probably better than turning to booze, and, you know, because a lot of people, and I do think about war veterans being on this kind of forefront of where we are with mental health, because the Vietnam veterans seem to really put it on the table about, we need help, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And those things shifted. Even on like war movies would all of a sudden became more real and more like, hey, this is insane what these people are going through.
War is terrible. And it, they talk about, you said your grandpa was a World War II vet.
Yeah.
They talk about that generation as being the toughest generation, which I don't doubt, but I was reading something kind of recently, and they were saying how they were the toughest generation, but they weren't until they were, right? It's like they were just like us until you get thrown into a war. It's the war that changes people. It's what you see, what you experience. That would do it to anybody,
sure.
And so it's not like, I guess what I'm saying is that I think people always emphasize like they were raised differently. They were raised harder. They were tougher. It's like, no, they were like us.
You were taught to avoid
until
things.
You had to go to Europe.
And bury things.
Yeah.
I mean, that was more of a thing. Well, it's good that people now have a place to go. And I don't want people to feel so heavy. There is some good stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean,
and we got a great new year. It's a great time for people to start.
100%. And I'm looking forward to some, I haven't booked anything, but going to some comedy shows, I'm really looking forward to it. That is that is an awesome stress reliever for myself. I love to laugh, love to go see the shows, take my mind off things that I'm dealing with. And, you
can go see live shows. Go hang out with people. Take a trip. If you can.
When's your next show?
I am going to be in Kansas City in the middle of January. Thank you, dude. You're teeing me up here to plug some stuff. I mean, I had Fort Lauderdale coming up at the end of the month, so I'm starting to ramp up. I had some time off. Love the time off, too. That's another thing. You got to take time off.
Got to take breaks.
I was talking about the break. I had a nice little, a lot of family time. I was sick, though, over the break. I got some kind of bug, dude. I was out, days.
It always comes at the worst time, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's like I usually shake it in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
This was 9 days of just kind of like a fog. And
well, I guess the upside is you didn't have to miss any shows because of that, right?
Yeah, I was off. Didn't have to miss any shows.
Have you ever had that where you're sick or not feeling good and you had to perform?
Yes. Yeah.
What's that like?
Brutal. I actually got food poisoning one time, and this is the only time it ever happened. I had to leave. I had to say, I was about to throw up on stage.
Yeah.
And I was probably 10 minutes in my set. I was in Irvine, California at the Improv. I just remember this night because it's that night, And I did get sick, and I was out. I was had to bounce.
So do they have a backup for you?
Yeah, I think whoever was, the middle act filled the time. There were a couple comics there. They just kind of filled the time. But, yeah, it has happened. Doesn't happen much. Because usually, and most comics will tell you this, hey, I feel like crap all day. And then you get the show. Boom, that's the best you feel all day.
Yeah.
The adrenaline gets you through it.
Playing the flu game.
You feel good. Yeah, exactly. And then afterwards, hits you again. Dude, I am sick. But you kind of get through most of the time. Oh, and if you have a cough, all of a sudden it goes away. You're not coughing during that set. But then you're coughing right after. I mean, there is something to be said about that.
Adrenaline can do amazing things.
Yeah, right?
Do you have any Chicago shows coming up?
I really don't. I just did a show at Rosemont, a crowd work show. Thank you guys for coming out to that. That was a great night. I just posted a clip. I have a couple clips that I'm posting from this. That's a big trend, doing the crowd work and, interacting with people, which I love, too, more than ever because of my that social interaction. That
Yeah.
is that is a way for me to connect with people, and it connects with the audience a lot differently than
What
when
is
you're
that
just doing
actually?
material.
Is that
so
when
when you're just
you're-
kind of talking to people
Okay.
and you
Trying
know,
to be funny, but
interacting,
talking?
asking questions, just
Okay.
kind of being in the moment.
Oh,
and
man,
that seems
that's-
it comes off as much more a laugh you get from crowd work is
Yeah.
a lot different than a laugh you get from material.
That type of work to me is even more impressive than just a pre-rehearsed stand-up, right? Because you're thinking on the fly. That I imagine it's more
in the
challenging.
moment. It's a
in the
lot more
moment.
like, I'm not an improv guy.
Yeah.
But as far as like as close to improv as I would get is
Yeah.
that. Just kind of.
Let me ask you this. Sometimes I see videos of hecklers at comedy shows.
Yeah.
And I am so impressed a lot of the time with how these comedians deal with the hecklers. Like they're so quick and so funny on the spot. And this is like in the middle of a disruption of their show. They know
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
what they're going to say. Do you guys plan for that? Are you like, if a guy in a white tee says this, I'm going to make a joke about his collar or something?
Yeah.
How do you
well,
how are-
always,
Yeah, how are
that's
you
my
guys so
thing.
quick to
I always
respond?
like my first is like I'm gonna up and down you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
find something to. It always depends. A heckler usually depends on where are they in the audience. Because if they're in the front row,
Mm-hmm.
no one from there to back, they're probably not even bothering anyone else.
Okay.
So then if if you bug, if you hit them too hard, then the crowd could turn on you. There is a way though. If someone's
it.
interrupting the show, you have a pretty long leash to hit them because they're bothering everybody.
Sure.
So you kind of turn it on them a little bit or bring in someone that they're with. So there are seemingly like textbook things that you kind of learn, a little bit of a toolbox for
Yep.
those situations.
Do you learn
But-
it in like comedy school or are these things
No,
you just
just
pick up
experience.
along the way? Okay.
Yeah, just doing it
I don't
over
know if
and
they have like a
over.
heckler class.
Yeah. I mean, I always feel like the heckler, they don't even realize it, but the best move for a heckler is just to be like, dude, you're so funny. You're
Yeah.
so funny. You're like, and just kind of like, don't give them this corner them and like, you make the comic feel almost like stupid. Like, you've seen it sometimes.
Oh, man, you're giving
there's like
some,
no comeback for that.
This is some high level ammunition for these
Yeah.
hecklers.
Yeah, so anyway, that was a lot of fun. And we had a listener out there, Amy Cagney, who won tickets to the show. It was great to see her. I met her at Zany's Rosemont. So a lot of fun. And I'm hoping to do that again soon. I'll let everyone know. And then I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. And Ben, thanks for coming in, dude. I know you're a busy guy. I met Ben at a hit we did for News Nation.
Yep.
It was right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and they invited us both to talk about mental health and humor, I think, around the holidays, and we had a really fun time. No prep. Pat and I showed
Yeah.
up, no prep at all. And,
They didn't really. They put it on us.
Yeah.
Like,
We're
you're
like,
gonna
what are
carry
you guys
the-
doing here? All right, grab seats.
You're gonna carry this segment. I'm like, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
But I had recognized you because I watched WGN.
Yeah.
And I've seen you on there,
Yeah.
WGN Morning News. You had won the Jeremy Allen
Yeah.
lookalike contest.
Yep.
And you went viral for that, really, right?
Yeah, that was like my origin story, kind of, in terms of like social media and being out here. I was just a mental health therapist before that, so still am just a mental health therapist, but now I have kind of a larger audience to talk to. But yeah, when they reached out to me, they're like, Pat McGann is going to be here. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm showing up for that.
Yeah, that
This
was
is
a good
awesome.
time.
I got really excited when you were going to be there because I had seen you in show and thought you were hilarious, and I got really excited that I got to meet you, and sit down with you, and
Look at us now. Now
yeah.
we're solving
Round two
everyone's
here.
problems,
Yeah.
fixing everyone's mental health.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot to look forward to, guys. We got some great episodes coming up here. Next week, I got Mark Giangreco. We have, and just 2026 overall. I was looking last night. What's going on this year? We got the World Cup coming.
okay.
We're hosting, too, with Canada and Mexico.
I
Chicago
actually
doesn't
didn't
have-
even know that.
Are you a soccer fan?
No.
I'm not really either. World Cup, though, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
We got the 250th anniversary of our great nation.
Oh, that's
We're
big.
going to be celebrating that all
I'm a
year.
fan of
Anything
that.
you got? What's your 2026? You got a motto, a goal?
No,
Anything?
no, not really. Not really. No. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle is really important to me. So I always try to get on these like health kicks and health hacks. And
You look healthy. That mustache looks so healthy. I
Thanks,
love
man.
that, dude.
thank you. I try. It's not easy though, but it's because there's a lot of things that can pull you off course. But I'll tell you, just this morning I had my cheese grater out and I was grinding up some turmeric and some ginger, stirred it around some water, and I took a shot of it. And little things like that are
And
gross,
what's that supposed to
but
do?
make me feel.
What is that supposed to do?
I don't even know. It's just supposed to be healthy.
Where do you get the
No, you know
turmeric?
what?
You got a
There's-
guy? You got like a...
No, you can buy that at any store. It's just like a root, and some people take it in capsules, or you can get some pre-ground in like the spice department.
What about
And,
snorting oregano? Do you recommend that? I heard some people do that.
I've never tried it, but to be honest, I'm such a sucker for these things that if somebody told me it was healthy, I might be doing it tomorrow.
Do a line of Lowry's. Do some seasoned salt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something you could do, guys. Get into some organic. And also, hey, how about skincare? That's also... Do you have a routine? Do you use any...
No, I don't do much.
You look like you. I mean, you got great
Oh,
dermis.
thanks, man. I don't know what all goes into skincare. It's just not an area I've really explored specifically. I do think that probably if you're healthy and you're exercising, you're eating right, you're sleeping right, your skin's probably going to look better. But I'm sure there are some products that you could, add in the mix. That
We got some right here. Go to tees.com/Pat. Get yourself started. I was scratching my son's back last night. He's all ashy.
He's a heshy.
You got the Irish skin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I got Tiege Hanley sponsorship. Why is my son ashy? Why is he flaking when I'm scratching his back? There's
Did you
like
put it on his back?
dust on there. Yeah, I wrote my name on there. I wrote my list of stuff I got to do today. Half the questions I asked you today, I wrote on his back last night with my fingernail. That's how I
awesome.
remembered them. But anyway, Ben, so great to have you.
Pat, thanks for having
Really
me, man.
appreciate it. I know you're a busy dude. If you need any help or someone to talk to or someone, just check out Ben's content. You got great videos online.
Thanks.
How to deal with some stuff. Everyone's juggling issues, and we just want everyone to be healthy so they can keep listening to the podcast.
Yeah. My Instagram is Ben in Session, and my website is therapistben.com.
Therapistben.com. And on Instagram, great follow. I've seen a lot of your content.
Thank you.
At Ben in Session.
Yep.
All right. Fantastic. Guys, thank you for listening. We have we got another review. I'll read that next week. And we got a few emails that I will get to, kind of running out of time here. But we were, as I mentioned, Marching in Greco next week. Very excited about that. And Ben Shabad, it's been a lot of fun talking to you, dude.
It's been awesome.
Happy
I really
New Year.
Appreciate it. Happy New Year to you, too.
All right, guys. Happy New Year to you. Don't forget to get some Tiege Hanley skincare. We love you. See you next week. Bye.